Section 27. This section contains a number of incredible chapters in a powerful and poetic style, beginning by continuing with the second half of the amazing chapter of the winnowing winds. We go through several brief verses on the stories of various prophets. We come to a magnificent verse about the expansion of the universe, one of many wonders found in the Qur'an about the physical world, which we typically find have been discovered or confirmed in modern scientific findings. We are told, but continue to remind, for certainly reminders benefit the believers. And then we come to some amazing passages about the reason for your creation, the purpose of your life. If you ever wanted to know why you exist, then this is it. This is where you will find the answer to that question. The next chapter, At-Tur, the Mount, that is the mountain where God spoke to Moses, peace be upon him, continues with the powerful and poetic flow as mentioned before. Yet later in this chapter, God rejects the claims that Muhammad, peace be upon him, was a poet, amongst some of the other more outrageous claims that were made about him. We then go through some strong statements against those who disbelieve, questioning why they disbelieve, along with some descriptions of the people in paradise. There are no words for me to put these passages in, you will just have to read it. For the next few chapters, I'll just mention some of the many notable verses that we find along the way. Speaking of the reward for the good doers, God says, "Those who avoid major sins and shameful deeds, despite stumbling on minor sins, surely your Lord is infinite in forgiveness. He knew well what would become of you as He created you from the earth and while you were still fetuses in the wombs of your mothers. So do not falsely elevate yourselves. He knows best who is truly righteous." Speaking of the destroyed nations of the past, along multiple verses, God repeats after each one, "And we have certainly made the Qur'an easy to remember. So is there anyone who will be mindful?" And then we reach the beautiful and famous chapter containing the oft-repeated verse where God repeats 31 times, "Then which of the favors of your Lord will you both deny?" Also within this chapter, God tells us what humans were created from and what jinns were created from. Then in the next chapter, Al-Waqiyah, the inevitable event, we learn that on the Day of Judgment, people will be divided into 3 groups, each mentioned here. Later, there are some strong and powerful messages and questions for those who disbelieve. And the chapter ends with God stating, "Indeed, this is the absolute truth. So glorify the name of your Lord, the greatest." The next chapter, Al-Hadid, the Iron, begins with a series of magnificent verses where God teaches us about some of His attributes and who He is. There's an amazing verse later in the chapter where God says, "Know that this worldly life is no more than play, amusement, luxury, mutual boasting and competition in wealth and children. This is like rain that causes plants to grow to the delight of the planters. But later the plants dry up and you see them wither, then they are reduced to chaff. And in the hereafter there will be either severe punishment or forgiveness and pleasure of God. Whereas the life of this world is no more than the delusion of enjoyment." With that, we come to the end of section 27.